right, everybody. In this lesson, we are going to learn about array properties and a couple of array methods. We've used properties and methods in other things before. We used the length property on the string to find out how many characters were in the string. We've used methods, console.log as a method. And we're gonna dive into a couple of really awesome methods on an array. One thing to note that arrays probably have, off the top of my head, I would say 20 plus methods to it. It might be more than that. Arrays are very powerful really because of their methods. We're going to learn about 4 of them today. And then by the end of this course, you'll actually learn about 2 more and really kind of open the door to array methods. But first of all, let's learn about a couple properties or a property. Like I had said before, in a previous lesson, we learned about the length property on a string, right? If we asked for a string name .length, it would give us the amount of characters in that string. Well, arrays also have a length property. And instead of the amount of characters in a string, it's going to give us the number of items, number of different data items in our array. So in this first case, you'll see Dan, Sarah, and Monique. And we ask for .length. And notice it's just .length. There's nothing, no tailing, parentheses or anything. This means to property. This means that it holds some metadata about our array. And the length is going to give us the amount of items, number of items in the array. So you can see that first one, names, there's 3 names in that array. And the second one, names 2, there's 2 names in that array. So names2.length is going to return 2. All right, let's check it out. We have our friends array here. We see that Christina, James, and Raj are in it. And if we say the name of the array, which is friends, and then we say .length, that's it, right? And we run that, and it's going to give us 3. Well, let's add another name in here. I'm going to add my name, if I can spell correctly today. And then let's look at see what happens over here now. 4 now. And let's remove a couple of these. And it's always going to stay up to date with however many items are in that array. Okay? So the length property is always going to give us the number of items currently in the array. So the length property is the one property we're going to learn about today with arrays. We're going to move on into some methods now. And arrays, this is where arrays really start to get powerful. So you may have been like, okay, cool, we can create this list of collection of data, a bunch of strings or a bunch of numbers, etc. But I mean, that's cool. We can pass around a little bit of stuff like that. But arrays really start to get powerful when we start being able to add and remove items from arrays. No collection of data. Well, I wouldn't say no, but a collection of data is hardly ever consistent. It doesn't need to change, right? Arrays are dynamic, and we can change that. The first method we're going to learn is the push method. So in that first example up there, you'll see let names equal Dan, Sarah, Monique. And like, okay, cool. Say these are our friends. And we're like, oh, I just met this really great guy, Raj. And, we hit it off and, want to hang out with him sometime. I want to add him to my list of friends. And so we can do that by using the push method. And so how to use that is we do a dot after the name of our array. We say push, and then since it's a method, we're going to need to use those parentheses. And inside of those parentheses, we give it the data object that we want to add to that array. So push is unique, and then it always adds the item to the very end of the array. No matter what, it's going to, and you'll see down below there that Raj is on the end. And so it always adds to the very end. You can push as many items as you want onto an array, and it's always going to add it to the very end. Okay, so push is how we add items to the end of an array. And you're like, okay, cool, we can add items. How do we remove them? Well, I'm glad you asked. We can use the pop method. Okay, so pop, you'll see, is set up really similar to push in that we say the name of the array dot pop and we give parentheses. And note here that we don't put anything in those parentheses because pop doesn't need any data. It doesn't need to know what you're trying to pop because pop will always remove the very last item in the array. You can't put an index of what item you want to remove. You can't put the quote Sarah unquote in there. Pop doesn't care. You can put whatever you want in there and it doesn't care. It's just always going to remove the very last item in the array. So you can see here we have that original names array. We say names.pop, and then look, console log names, and we see that Monique is gone. Another really interesting thing about pop is that we can assign a variable to whatever is returned from pop, and pop will actually give us what it removed back. So we can assign pop name to names.pop, and pop is going to give us that item, so we don't lose it. It doesn't just disappear. This is really useful because then we see here console log the array. Monique is gone, but we console log pop name, and we see that we still have access to that item that was popped. So let's check out push and popped in our friends list here. So I'm going to remove Dan from it. And I'm going to add Dan later on, right? So friends, and we're doing awesome things with friends all the time. And we meet a new friend, and we want to add that friend to our friends list. So we want to use push. And remember that push is always going to add the name or the item at the very end. So let's go console log friends just to see what we got. So let's do this. Console log friends. We're going to see Christina, James, and Raj are in there. So now we're going to push. Let's put. We'll put Monique in here again. Monique. We met Monique. Monique was awesome. We want to hang out with her again. We want to add her to our friends list. Here we go. So we're going to push. And remember, push is always going to put at the end. So now we see that our new array has Monique at the very end. And like I said, we can add as many friends or as many items to this array as we want using push. Push. We'll add George. And look at that. And now notice that since we pushed Monique in first, Monique is right here, and we pushed in George second, George is now at the very end. So it's going to keep stacking on. So if we push another name, it'll go here, and it'll keep stacking on the whole time we go. And also let's check this out. Oh man. Friends not length, and we'll have 5 because there's 5 friends in here now, right? It's not the original 3. Length is always going to be determined by how many are currently in the array. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind as well. Let's comment that out, and let's say like, Raj moved away. We're still friends with him, but we want to take him off our immediate hangout list. Okay, so we can use pop. And pop is, remember, always going to remove the last item in our list. So it's going to be Raj, no matter what. All right? And now look, we console logged friends, and Raj is nowhere to be found on here. But we don't want to disappear him forever. So let's go let old friend equal friends.pop. We'll console.log old friend. Oh, log, not lof. And now we'll see that we still have access to Raj because it gives us back whatever we asked it to. Okay, so it's going to remove that and give it back to us, and we're going to be able to use it. All right, so we now know how to remove and add things to the end of our array. And you're like, well, what if we want to add them to the beginning? Well, we have two methods for that as well, where push is adds things to the end of the array. Unshift is going to add things to the beginning of the array. And I know that unshift, and it's going to be shift and unshift, they don't sound as like what they do as much as push and pop do. You know, you like push an item onto the array, pop an item off the end. Unshift actually pushes an item onto the beginning of the array, and shift actually pops an item off the beginning of the array. These get pretty confused, shift and unshift, even amongst seasoned developers. A lot of times, even I'm going to have to go in and be like, oh, which one adds and which one removes again? So don't feel, upset if you don't get these right away and you don't remember this right away. A lot of times we have to go back and look exactly what these two things do. Push and pop makes sense. Unshift and shift don't really make sense. And we can see that unshift adds an item to the beginning of the array, and shift removes an item from the beginning of the array. The same exact way that push and pop do. And so we can see that that they work exactly the same way as push and pop. And there's another example of unshift or shift method. We can grab access to that shifted name, right? Just like pop. So let's come in here again and let's do. I'm going to comment these things out. I want to console log friends, and instead of pushing, let's unshift these. Remember, so like, oh, we add all of our new items to the beginning of the array now. So let's look at it, and now let's look. We have George at the very beginning. That was the last item unshifted. Then we've got Monique, right? Those have been added to our old list of friends, right? So unshift works the exact same way that push does, and in fact, we can mix and match all we want. So we have Monique added to the beginning, George added to the end. Okay, so these, we can mix and match these all we want. We don't have to use one or the other. And then the same with unshift, right? If we say, or shift, excuse me. Oh, there I go. Already messing it up. Shift, then we're going to see that Christina was removed from the beginning of the array. And if we make use of old friend, Christina's still there. So these are four really great, powerful array methods. They allow us to add and remove items from an array. They only allow us to add and remove items from a specific place in the array. Arrays are built in a way that makes it really difficult to add and remove items to the middle of an array. So if you want to remove, James in this case from the middle of the array, it's pretty difficult to do that. We're not going to get into that in this course, but just know that arrays are really designed to maintain order and to be like, oh, this is the last item or this is the first item, that kind of thing. So don't try to shift or pop a specific item out of an array. You'll learn later on how to add and remove those, but it's a lot more work than just using a single method. I hope you've had some fun pushing and popping and shifting and unshifting and finding the length of arrays, and hope you have fun working with arrays because they're a really great data structure. I'll see you in the next video.